There's a call for God, I see it everywhere. Everybody's running scared, and everything is turning upside down. Welcome to A Course of Love. But the world I hear, they keep coming through from deep inside of me and you. It's telling us that love is who I am. Yeah, welcome to A Course of Love. You and me, we're not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Welcome to A Course of Love on Facebook Live. Welcome to A Course of Love on Facebook Live. Now let's come together and understand that Christ was born inside of every man. He's waiting for us to choose Him as ourselves. When you choose Him, you know you choose me too. And everyone becomes a part of you. And then you know that love is who I am. Love is who you are. Love is who I am. You and me, we're not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. We've been together from the very beginning. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Welcome to A Course of Love on Facebook Live. We are one. Welcome to A Course of Love. Oh, we are one. We are one. You don't have to believe these ideas. You don't have to accept these ideas. You don't have to even welcome these ideas. Some of these ideas you may actively resist. Some of these ideas you're going to find hard to believe, but we're not getting together tonight to analyze the ideas. It is the use of the ideas, hearing the ideas, and using the ideas that will show you that the ideas are true at A Course of Love. So this class is about the heart. It's not about the head. It's about the heart. It's not about the head. You and me, we're not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start, from the very beginning. Tell me, can you hear it? Mighty companion, tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Welcome to A Course of Love. 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 Welcome to A Course of Love with Earl Purdy. Welcome to A Course of Love. Welcome to A Course of Love with Earl Purdy. Yeah, welcome, 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 welcome to A Course of Love. Wow. It's good to be here. It's always good to be here with my mighty companions. I thank you so much for joining me here at A Course of Love on Facebook Live. Lila, Glad to have you here, Trish, Kathy, Kim, and everyone else that's online. And remember that we're doing it live. I'm doing it live so that we can feel our mighty companions. So please comment, please share, please communicate. Take advantage of the fact that I'm here with you in real time as far as comments or questions. But remember, A Course of Love is really about the heart. And my purpose is to bring the Course of Love to life and make the words living through the peace and the energy and the love of God inside of me. So I want to invite you. I want to invite you to get out of your head. I want to invite you to get out of your analytical mind. I want to invite you to join me, Earl Purdy, in the heart. What I'm doing here tonight and what I want to do with you is I want to feel all this love that we read about and hear about in all these books. I want to experience the love that I keep hearing us talk about. And you and I are mighty companions. And this is our intimate time together. And let's love each other. Let's accept each other. Let's appreciate each other. I'm going to do this chapter 27 in the Course of Love. I'm going to do it in a very conversational way. And our goal is to hear it together. Not necessarily understand or believe every bit of it, but we just want to hear it together first. So I welcome questions, but I would invite you to keep the questions really focused on understanding what it is that we're being told through A Course of Love. So we're in chapter 27, page 172 in A Course of Love. Chapter 27, page 172. And tonight's chapter is entitled Being. Being. The title of this is Being. What we're going to do is we're going to return now to what your being is. We're going to return to what your being is. Do you know that you have attached being to being human? You are attached to being human. You are attached to being human. So what does that mean? You are attached to being human. Well, it means in your quest to identify yourself, in this journey that you've made to try to identify yourself, you simply narrowed yourself to what is, you narrowed yourself to the visible, and you narrowed yourself to something that is describable. So what the Course of Love is telling me that in my search for myself, I attach myself to being a human being. And when you attach yourself to being a human being only, you have attached yourself to something that is visible and describable. So I have attached myself to something that's visible and describable. And so he says, I have identified death as the only means by which to reach oneness with your Father. So the Course of Love is saying that we think that we're going to join with God after we die. We think we're going to get in touch with our real identity and our source after we die. Knowing that such oneness is not compatible with the human nature you ascribe to yourself. So since I know that the oneness of God, the power of God, doesn't seem like it's describable, and that it really is compatible, it seems like what I'm reading in the Course of Love as far as the characteristics of God are not compatible with the human nature that I've ascribed to myself. And so I think I have to die before I can join with my true self. I think I have to die before I can join with God, because what I think I am as a human being is not compatible with what I'm hearing God is. So I think I have to die in order to make connection with Source. And A Course of Love says, in this one error do all errors lie. What does that mean? Well, it means that all errors come from the errors of thinking that you have to die in order to connect with God, that you have to die in order to be who and what you really are. That's a mistake, to think that it's necessary to die before you can connect with God. That's a mistake. But what quest can be fulfilled when the only answer to life seems to be death? This is why and how the death of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus provided an answer and an end to the need for answers. So the death of Jesus, the so-called death and resurrection of Jesus, provided an answer that we're going to receive tonight. And the answer that we're going to receive tonight is going to end our need for answers. So what we hear tonight could end our needs for answers. Now that would be a trip. So in chapter 27, paragraph 2, it says, your being here is not futile. Your being here is not without a purpose. There's a purpose to you being here. There's a purpose to you being here. There's a purpose to you being here. And it's more than the purposes that you deal with in your day-to-day life. Your being is all purpose. Your being is all honor. Your being is all glory. What you are has a purpose. What you are is worth honoring, and what you are has glory. There is no being apart from your being. There's no way you can be separate from who you are. There's no way you can be separate from your true being. There's no way that you can be separate from your true being. There's no being alive and being dead. There's no being alive and being dead. There's no such thing as being human or being divine. There's no such thing as being human or being divine. Do you know that there is only being? Being is. There is only being. There is no being human and being divine. There is no being alive and being dead. There is only being. You are a being. You are a being. You are a being. I am a being. I am a being. I've been calling myself a man. I have been limiting myself to something that is visible. I've been limiting myself to something that is describable. But the truth is, and I've been telling myself I have to die before I can connect with God and be back connected to my source. And the course of love is telling me that it's not about being a human being. It's not about being a divine being. It's about knowing that you are a being. Okay? Yet being, like love, being is in relationship. So in a relationship is where you are most able to be. You can most be in relationship. Like love is in relationship, being, existing is in relationship. And so what does that mean? It means your purpose here, rather than being the purpose of finding meaning, your purpose here is a purpose of coming to know through relationship. It's not about you finding out the meaning of yourself. It's about you coming to know yourself through relationship. And a relationship is a situation. A relationship is a situation. So you come to know yourself in a situation. You come to know yourself in a situation. You come to know yourself through relationship. A relationship is a situation. A situation is a relationship. So do you realize that it is in coming to know through relationship that you come to know yourself? So do you know that how you come to know yourself? The way you come to know yourself is to know through relationship. And a relationship is a situation. So you come to know yourself in the situation that you're in right now. Whatever situation you're in right now, that's the situation in which you come to know yourself. This situation that you're in right now, this relationship that you're in right now, that's how you come to know your real self. So think about the situation that you're in right now. Think about the situation that you're in right now. Think about the relationship that you're in right now. And tell yourself, through this relationship, I come to know myself. Let me come to know myself through this relationship. Let me come to know myself through this relationship. Let me come to know myself through this situation. Let me come to know myself through this situation. Let me come to know myself through this situation. Let me come to know myself through this situation. Let me come to know myself. We on paragraph 3 in chapter 27. Through this relationship, let me come to know myself. Now in chapter 27, paragraph 4, in the course of love, It says the purpose of this course, has been stated in many ways, and the purpose of this course is going to be stated again. Listen to this. The purpose of this course is to establish your identity. The purpose of a course of love is to establish your identity. The purpose of a course of love is to establish your identity. The purpose of a course of love is to establish your identity. That means that the importance of this purpose cannot be underestimated. And what is the purpose? The purpose of this course is to establish who you are. The purpose of this course, Raj, is to establish who you are. The purpose of this course is to establish your identity, mighty companion. So let us address, right now, let's address the question of why this is so important. Why is what so important? What's so important is to establish your identity. That's what's so important. What's so important is to establish who you really are. My purpose in doing a course of love is to bring it to life so that you can hear it. Not so that you can analyze it, so that you can hear it. So that's why I'm letting the course of love teach itself, in a sense. So, what is the purpose of a course of love? Well, the purpose of a course of love is to establish your identity. And that purpose is a purpose that you cannot underestimate. There's nothing more important than establishing your identity, establishing who you really are. Now, in chapter 27, paragraph 5, in the course of love, it says, you have been caught in a cycle of seeing the self as important for a period of time, and then seeing yourself as unimportant for a period of time. So that means I've been caught in a cycle of seeing myself as important and seeing myself as unimportant. I'm caught in a cycle of I see myself as important and I see myself as unimportant. I see you as important and I see you as unimportant. Seeing the self as important seems at one time like a function of the ego. Sometimes people think if they see themselves as important, they're in their ego. Like somehow it's negative for you to see yourself as important. Like it's somehow egotistical for you to see yourself as valuable. And at another time, it looks like by seeing yourself as valuable and seeing yourself as important, that's a function of the divine. So it seems like sometimes I should see myself as important, but it looks like I'm in my ego. And then other times I see myself as important and I think it's connected to my divine self. So that means you become confused. Now, what is it that you become confused about? You become confused between the personal self and a true self. We get confused about what's my personal self and what's my real self, because you have not as yet identified with your true self. Okay, so I haven't identified with my true self, and since I haven't identified with my true self, I get confused about what's my personal self and what's my true self, because I have not identified my true self. Do you know that it's time for you to really identify your true self? It's time for you to identify your true self, Raj. It's time for you to identify who you really are, mighty companion. It's time for you to identify who you really are, and you are not a body. You are not your body. You are not a human being. You are a being. You are not a divine being. You are a being. You are a being. So, are there any questions or comments about anything that's been said so far? So let me take a look. Talisha has just joined. Rob says, you're on fire tonight. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. I appreciate knowing that we're on the same page and you're really appreciating what I'm doing. Let's see. Okay. I don't see any real comments. I'm thanking people for coming online. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, CJ, for coming online, and Rob, and Miguel, and Cheryl, and Danny, and Kathy. Thank you, all of you, for coming online. Thank you for sending hearts out. I love you, too. So I love it when you send me out hearts. Okay, so let's go on. Okay, in chapter 27, chapter 27, paragraph 6, it says, we have already stated that relationship is the only known in an unknowable world. The only thing that you can know in this world is relationship. We've already stated that the only being who is not beyond the limits of total knowing is the self. So that means it's in knowing the self that all is known. So if you want to know everything, you have to know yourself. If you want to know everything, you have to know yourself. To know yourself is important. If you want to know everything, you have to know yourself. If you want to know everything, Raj, you have to know yourself. You have to know yourself. If you want to know everything, you have to know yourself. It's time for you to know yourself. It's time for you to really know yourself. It's time for you to really know yourself. It's really time for you to know who you really are. You are consciousness. You are spirit. You are awareness. You are being. It's time for you to know yourself. If you want to know everything, and if you want to know everything about what's going on in your life, and if you want to know everything about everything, you have to know yourself. It's time for you to know yourself. Now, do you know that when you fully realize that the only way to know the self, what is it that you have to fully realize? You have to fully realize that the only way to know yourself is through relationship. The only way to really know yourself is through relationship. So what does it mean? Well, that means that your concerns about concentration on the self will end. Okay, right now you're obsessed with yourself. It's a good chance right now, Raj, that you're totally obsessed with yourself, that you think about yourself all the time. You think about your past, you think about your future, you think about what's going on, you think about what's going to happen, you think about all the things going on in your life. So right now, you may be in a state where you're thinking about yourself and your little self. And so in order to know your true self, you do it through relationship, because relationship helps you take your mind off of your own little personal ego only. Do you know that one of the most important things to remember is that life is not a matter of self versus other. Life is not about competition. Life is not about competition. You have to recognize that life is not about competition. Life is about relationship. Life is about relationship. Life isn't about competition. Life isn't about me versus you and you versus me. Life is about relationship. We need to be in a relationship. So all of us are in a ship, and we are in a relationship. Life is not a matter of human versus divine. Life is not a matter of your human self versus your divine self. Life is a matter of relationship between the human self and the divine self. It's about the relationship between your so-called human self and your so-called divine self. It's not about the human self versus the divine self. It's about your human self in relationship with your divine self. And it also means that life is not a matter of one living thing versus another living thing. Life isn't about one living thing being in competition or versus another living thing. Life is about the relationship between all living things. Life is about the relationship or situation between all living things. All of us are in a situation together. Everybody and everything on this planet, we're all in a situation, and we're all in this situation together. And a situation is a relationship. So we are in a relationship with each other because all of us are in the same situation with each other. We're all here on earth, in this dimension, on this plane, and so we are in a relationship with each other. That means we are in a situation with each other. Paragraph 8, chapter 27 says, if you can only come to know yourself through relationship, if you can only come to know who you really are through relationship, you can only come to know God through relationship. So if you can only know yourself through relationship, don't you see that it also means that you can only know God through relationship? God is love, so you can only know love through relationship. You can only know love through relationship. The one way that you know love is through relationship. And so that also means the one way to know God is through relationship. So we've already established that a relationship is a situation, so you can only come to know yourself through situations, and you can only come to know God through a situation. What situation? The situation that you're in right now. The situation that you're in this very moment is the situation in which you can come to know God. You don't have to be in any other situations other than the situations that you are in right now to know God. You don't have to be in any other situation or any other situations, Earl, than the situation that you're in to know yourself. Christ. What is Christ? Christ is the holy relationship that exists between you and God. Christ is a holy relationship. Christ is a healing relationship. Christ is a loving relationship. So Christ is the relationship that exists between you and your Creator, is the Christ. Christ is your true self. the you that's in relationship with that which created you. So Christ provides the bridge that spans the very concept of between. So what does that mean? It means that Christ provides the connection of unity. It's through the Christ self that we experience the connection of unity. So Christ is the holy relationship. The holy relationship is Christ. Christ is a loving relationship. Your loving relationship is a freeing relationship. And a freeing relationship is a loving relationship. A loving relationship is a freeing relationship. A freeing relationship is a truly loving relationship. Christ is a loving relationship. And Christ is the connection of unity. So what does that mean? It means that your relationship with Christ, your relationship with a loving relationship, always was and always will be. So a Christ relationship is a relationship that always was and a relationship that always will be. A relationship that always was and a relationship that always will be is a truly loving, holy relationship, and a truly loving, holy relationship that is Christ, according to a course of love. According to a course of love. So what is your task here? What is your job here? Your job here is to come to know that relationship with the Christ within you, your true self, the self in you that is the bridge, the self in you that is the connection of unity. That self in you is the Christ, and you are to come to know that relationship once again. It's time for us to know relationships that are eternal. It's time for us to know relationships that we can't lose. It's time for us to know relationships that are only loving. It's time for us to know relationships that are only happy. It's time for us to know relationships that are only joyful. It's time for us to know the true relationship. So let's see what we got here. Yvette says divine truth. And Lionel says, so should we feel Christ in relationship? Yeah, a real relationship is the Christ. A truly loving relationship is us in relationship with our one self that we share. The Christ is the one self we all share. That one self that was created by God that we all share. CJ says, welcome all. Welcome all. Kathy says, exactly where I am right now. Christ is seen and heard right here, right now. That's right. Don't forget that a relationship is a situation. So the situation that you're in right now is the situation in which you can know the Christ, which is your true self, which is true love. Janet is in the house, says she loved this course. I appreciate that. Rob says Earl is getting some galactic downloads tonight. The new earth is already here. It's time for us all to see it and move into it. All the blocks to love are dissolving. It's time for us to move into not 3D, not 4D, but 5D. Kathy says, I am starting to ask more. What do I want now? What does this relationship want me to know? That's right. Ask yourself, what does this situation want me to know? What is this situation that I'm in right now trying to teach me? Beautiful, Kathy. Kathy also says it is time now in this relationship I'm in right now. And CJ says, I can only know me by relating to you. And Bernard says, to thy own self be true. That is right, Bernard. Marcy says, I love when you repeat the important ideas. It really sinks in. I know what you mean, Marcy. I look at it like hammering a nail into some wood. I haven't ever met a carpenter that slammed the nail all the way in with one blow. Usually there are many blows before the nail goes completely into the wood. And that's what I believe about these ideas. I believe that there's nothing more important than hearing these ideas and repeating these ideas to yourself until you accept the ideas as true. That's why you see me repeat over and over and over again, because I know it has nothing to do with you understanding what the truth is teaching. That's a trick to think you need to understand this. What you want to do is get out of the way and let your true self heal you, correct you, wake you up. Let's see what else we hear here. So CJ says, so my identity crisis is at the bottom of all my stress. That's right. It doesn't matter what kind of pain you're going through, what kind of stress that you're going through is coming from not knowing who you truly are. And Kathy says again, yes, it is time to identify my true self. Oh my, yes, 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 I am being. I am being. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And Nikki says the reinforcement makes a solid foundation. And Yvette says, keep repeating. It's sinking deep into my soul. That is exactly what I want to do, Yvette. And Marcy says, keep doing it. Love it. You have no idea. You all have no idea how much you inspire me. You have no idea how much joy that I give myself as a result of the relationships that I have with you out there. It's so good knowing that there are other beings out there like me who really want to wake up to who they really are, who can sense that there's something more than the insane projections of our mind out into the world that's real. That there's other beings want to know their oneness and joining with love, and that we can talk sanity and we can talk as weird as we want to together, and we can love and appreciate each other. To me, this is more than just Earl Purdy giving some type of a lecture. This is us coming together in a holy, healing, loving relationship to love and to experience love and to know that we're not alone and that there are other beings who are awakening also. We're such a blessing to each other, and you're such a blessing to me. And I never know how I'm going to express myself. So don't ever think that Earl is supposed to be in a certain way any more than I think you need to be in a certain way. I show up as authentic as I can in every meeting that I do. And I know that I'm learning as much as you. That's why you hear me call my name, because I want to make sure I hear it as well as you. Okay, so let's go to the next paragraph. Paragraph 9, chapter 27. It says, the thought of God by which you were created is synonymous with the Christ in you. That means it is your relationship with your source and all that your source created. Can you begin to visualize, can you begin to perceive your true identity as relationship itself? Your true identity is relationship. And what of God? Well, can you unlearn all concepts and free your mind to accept all relationship instead? So I'm asking you, are you willing to unlearn all the concepts that you've learned so that you can free your mind? Are you willing to undo and have undone all the concepts that you've learned, Raj, so that you can free your mind? It's time to free your mind, and to free your mind to accept all relationship instead. What does that mean? Well, it means if all meaning and all truth lies in relationship, can you be other than relationship itself? Can God be other than relationship? Can you imagine relationship rather than singular objects? Can you imagine relationship rather than bodies? So rather than thinking in terms of bodies, can you think in terms of relationships? Instead of focusing in on my body, instead of focusing in on somebody's body, why don't you focus in on the relationship you have with them? Focus on the relationship more than you focus on the body. Focus on the relationship more than you focus on the body. As everything that exists, and thus who you are and who God is. Everything that exists is relationship. You are relationship, and God is relationship, which means love is relationship. So could I ask you a question? Is it such a huge leap to go from saying you only exist in relationship to you saying you only exist as relationship? You only exist as relationship. You only exist as relationship. Do you know that you think it is and feel yourself further diminished and lacking in identity just by contemplating such an idea? So what were we just told? That there's a part of us that feels that thinking that we are relationship somehow diminishes us. Thinking that we are somehow interdependent and connected to each other somehow lessens us. And so you must be reassured of the self that you are. So that means that we are being reassured of the self that we are. You are being reassured of the self that you are. Now, this you being reassured as to the self that you are, which is a being, which is a relationship, which is love, this establishment of your identity that we seek to do here is not just so that you can better understand yourself or your world. I'm not trying to establish who your identity and what your identity is just so you can understand yourself better and understand the world better. One thing I want you to be aware of, you know what one thing is I want you to be aware of? I'm not trying to establish your identity I'm not trying to help you establish your identity just so you can understand yourself better. This is not about you understanding yourself better. This is not about you understanding your world better. This is not even about you bringing heaven to earth. Although these are great goals and these are great complementary goals, as stated before, but understanding yourself, understanding the world, bringing heaven to earth, these are goals that you can't accomplish on your own anyway. What you can't do on your own is you can't better understand yourself on your own. You can't better understand the world on your own. You cannot bring heaven to earth on your own. These are goals you cannot accomplish on your own or with the concept that you have about yourself right now. What does that mean? Well, what it means is just as you look around you to see that no two bodies on this earth are exactly the same, I want you to know that the self you are is a unique self. You are a unique self. The self that you are is very unique. You are 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 unique. I am unique. You are unique self. I am unique self. You are unique self. I am unique self. You are unique. You are unique. I am unique. You are unique. I am unique. You are unique. We are unique. We are unique. I am unique. You are unique. You are unique. Let me tell you again that you are unique. 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 A self of relationship does not imply a self that is the same as all the rest. So to say that you're a self of relationship doesn't mean that you're the same as all the rest, but it does imply that you have a self that's integral to all the rest. You're not the same as all the rest, but you're integral to all the rest. What does it mean to say you're integral to all the rest? That means you matter. Do you understand me? You matter. You really matter. You matter as an interactive part of the relationship that's life. You matter because you are an interactive part of the relationship that is life. Do you know that that means you are already accomplished as who you are? You are already accomplished in unity. But don't you remember that in separation, you just strive for all that is yours in relationship. So when you're in separate, so let me see. So I'm being told that when I believe that I'm separate, all I'm interested in is what I can get out of the relationship. When I'm in separation, all I'm interested in is what I'm going to get out of the relationship. That's what I'm most concerned about. But relationship is unity, and unity is relationship, which means relationship is your natural state. Relationship is your natural state. Your natural state is to be in relationship. That doesn't mean that I'm talking about that you have to be with another body. Being in relationship doesn't mean that you have to be with another body. Relationship is who you are. In paragraph 12 in chapter 27, it says, because you do not understand doesn't mean that you are not learning the truth. Because you don't always understand everything doesn't mean that you're not learning the truth. Because you don't understand everything all the time, it doesn't mean you're not learning. Just because you don't understand something, it doesn't mean you're not learning. You don't understand. You know why you don't understand? I'm going to tell you why you don't understand. You don't understand, Earl, because you think in terms of singularity. You don't understand because you just think in terms of singularity rather than in terms of unity. You don't think in terms of unity, Earl. You think in terms of singularity. not unity. And that is why this course is not concentrating on your thinking. The course of love is not concentrating on your thinking. I'm not here to work so much with your thinking. The course of love is not about your thinking. Again, let's repeat. You are bidden to turn to your heart for the truth that is hidden there, yet waiting to be revealed. So turn to your heart. There's some truth that's hidden in your heart. So you need to turn to your heart, and so that there's some truth that's going to be revealed to you if you turn to your heart. There's some truth that's going to be revealed to you if you turn to your heart, because your heart knows of unity. Your heart knows of unity, even if your mind doesn't. And your heart doesn't know anything about any desire to be alone. Your heart doesn't know anything about any desire to be separate. Your heart doesn't desire to be alone. Your heart doesn't desire to be separate. In your heart, you don't desire to be alone. In your heart, you don't desire to be separate. So your heart understands. Your heart understands relationship as its source of existence. Your heart knows that relationship is the source of its existence. And that means you're not separate from your source. You are not separate from your source means you're not different from your source. You are not separate from your source means that you are not different from your source. You are not different from God. You are not different from God. You are not different from God. You are unique, but you're not different from God. You are unique, but you are not different from love. You are not different from love. To be separate means to be different. And you are not truly different or separate from God, and you're not truly different or separate from love. That's right, Kathy. Your heart understands your true nature. So in paragraph 13 in chapter 27, it says, living in relationship is living in love. So to live in love is to live in relationship. And to live as love and to live in relationship, you have to live as who you are. You have to live as who you really are. Living in relationship means you have to live in the present. So to be in a relationship with somebody, you have to be present. To be in relationship with me, you have to be present with me. That means you can't be with me and thinking about the past, and you can't be with me and thinking about the future. You can't be with me and thinking about how I need to be different for you to be happy. I can't be with you thinking about how you need to be different for me to be happy. I can't be in a relationship just wanting only what I can get out of it. And to be in a relationship with you, I have to be present with you. And I'm present with you as best I can. I'm present with you right now. So here's a question for you. Here's a question for you. How do you learn to move from living in separation to living in relationship? So how do you pull this off? How do you go from moving from living in separation? I think I'm separate. I think I'm separate. I think I'm separate. I think I'm on my own. I think I'm separate. I think I'm separate. So how do I go from thinking I'm separate and living like I'm separate to living in relationship? How do I pull this off? How do I pull this off? Well, to live in relationship means, would you like to know what living in relationship, how you do it? Okay, to live in relationship means to accept all that is happening in the present as your present reality. So the way that you live in relationship is to accept all that is happening in the present as your present reality. Everything that's happening to me right now is what's happening to me right now. Everything that's happening to me right now is what's happening to me right now. Everything that's happening to me right now is what's happening to me right now. So to accept all that is happening in the present as your present reality, that is to live in relationship. So you and I are not living in relationship with each other until we accept everything that's happening in the present as our present reality, which means as a call to be in relationship with it. So everything that's happening between you and me right now is just a call for us to be in relationship with each other in terms of what's happening right now. So you and I are in relationship with each other right now. You and I are in relationship with each other because you and I are in relationship with what is happening between us right now. We are in relationship with what is happening between us right now. What does that mean? It means it's the willingness to set aside judgment. It's the willingness to set aside judgment. Now, why do you want to set aside judgment? Well, the reason why you want to set aside judgment is so that you are not contemplating what should be happening. See, judgment makes you start to think about what should be happening right now. Judgment makes you think about what should be happening right now. And you are at that point not focusing on what is happening right now. Like right now, you may be listening to this, thinking about what should be happening right now, what you should be feeling, what you should be understanding, maybe what you should be doing other than being online with me right now. In other words, if you're in judgment right now, You're not present with me right now. And if you're not present with me right now, it means you're thinking about what should be happening in your with me right now. So if you're not present in your relationships, it just means that you are thinking too much about what should be happening in your relationship. So it looks past perception of others to relationship and wholeness. To live in relationship means to live in harmony, even with conflict. So to live in relationship is to still live in harmony. Even in conflict, you still live in harmony. What does that mean, to live in harmony even when you're in conflict? It's an understanding. What kind of understanding? It's an understanding that if conflict arises in your present, there is something to be learned from your relationship with conflict. So to be in relationship and to be in relationship with someone is to live in harmony even with conflict. To live in harmony even in conflict means you understand that this conflict that's coming up between us right now is coming up in our relationship so that we can learn from it. This conflict that's coming up in our relationship right now is coming up so that we can learn from it. Any conflict that's coming up in our relationship right now, that conflict is coming up so that we can learn from it. Any conflict that comes up in any relationship that you're in, that conflict is coming up so that you can learn from it. And if you learn from the conflict in your relationship, you're living in relationship. So do you know that living in relationship means that you can have harmony even in conflict, because you know that the only reason why you're having the conflict is so that you can learn from it. So in paragraph 15, chapter 27, it says, living in relationship is living from your center. And living from your center means living from the heart of yourself. It is time for you to live from the heart of yourself. Aren't you willing now to start living from your heart self? It is time for us to join with our heart self. Earl, join with your heart self now. You worked on your mind, you worked on your consciousness, you worked on your thoughts for many, 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 many years. Now it's time for you to function from your heart self. Mighty companion that is with me right now, it is time for you to start operating from your heart self. Your heart self. So what is living from your heart self? Well, I'm going to tell you what living from your heart self is. It is complete reliance on relationship itself rather than on the mind. Rather than relying on the mind, you're going to have complete reliance on the relationship. Instead of relying on the mind, you're going to rely on the relationship. What does that mean, to rely on the relationship and not rely on the mind? It means that your actions reflect the proper response to the relationship. It means that your actions reflect the proper response to the relationship that is occurring in the present, rather than your own preconceived notions of others, the previous judgments your mind once made and relies upon out of habit, or your considerations of what the situation might mean in the future. Complete reliance on the relationship means that my actions reflect the proper response to the relationship that is occurring in the present, rather than my preconceived notions of others, previous judgments my mind once made and relies upon out of habit, or my considerations of what the situation might mean in the future to me. What does that mean? It means it is not the individual you, that little bitty you, that dictates your responses to situations based on surface interpretations of what those situations entail. What does that mean? Tell me. It is rather the you in the relationship. It's the you within the relationship that responds out of the knowledge gained through relationship. What I'm doing right now, I'm not going to bring nothing about my past into this situation and circumstance that we're going through right now, because we live in a relationship. I'm not going to think about what should be happening. I'm not going to compare anything that I've experienced in a relationship with anybody else other than you. I'm going to be right here in this relationship with you, responding out of the knowledge that I have gained from being in relationship with you. I'm going to be right here with you, only responding out of the knowledge I have gained in my relationship with you. I'm not going to be judging you based on the relationship I had with someone else. I'm not going to judge you based on what I think you should be doing or what should be happening in the future. I'm not going to judge what's happening in our relationship based on my preconceived notions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to respond out of the knowledge that I've gained from just being in a relationship with you. You and I should be responding to each other out of the knowledge that we've gained just out of being in relationship with each other. So let me ask you, how often have you, even with the best intentions, how often have you not known the proper response to make? Haven't you ever had a situation that you didn't really know what the right response would be? Haven't you had situations that you don't even know what the right response should be? You even wonder sometimes as you pray. You even wonder whether you should pray for specific outcomes, and you wonder, should I pray for a specific outcome that I'd like to see happen, or should I pray for God's will to be done? Should I pray for the exact outcome the way that I think it should be, or should I pray for God's will to be done? Well, maybe you want to give some thought to this. Your fear of being a miracle worker, you fear being a miracle worker. Do you know that you actually fear being a miracle worker? And let me tell you why you fear being a miracle worker. You fear being a miracle worker because you don't think that you will even know what's called for. I'm afraid to be a miracle worker because I don't know what I'll be asked to do. I'm afraid to be a teacher of God because I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of what I'm going to be asked to do. That's a good question. If I say I want to be a miracle worker, if I say I want to be here for the healing of the planet, I don't know what that means in terms of what I'm going to be asked to do. So let's look at some of our comments. Kim says, God's will be done. Yes, let's say that together. God's will be done. Nikki says, I need God's will and healing of all relationships. I've been there, not sure which is best. CJ says, no past or future attachment, only now awareness. Kathy says, something to be learned of love even in conflict. Heart, what do you want me to know, to experience right now? Perfect question. Thanks for joining, Joseph and Jacqueline. Cheryl says, Cheryl, I'm not sure. Everything that is happening now is supposed to be happening now. That's right. Everything that's happening now is supposed to be happening now. I'm not supposed to be focusing so much on the past or the future. It's a call to love. That's exactly right. My heart understands my true nature. That's right, Kathy. Your heart does understand your true nature. And Nikki says, I dedicate all thought to unity. Yes, Nikki, I dedicate all thought to unity with you. Very important. Good to see you, Joanne. Tassie says, so special relationship is something that we do when we are feeling separate. A special relationship is the very epitome of what we do when we feel separate. It's an attempt to be relationship when we are not feeling it. It is an attempt to be relationship when we are not feeling it. I don't quite understand that question. But I know that any special relationship is a call for love. It's really a desire for us to really know what love is and to move in that direction. CJ says, you are beautifully unique. Yes, I want you to realize that being the same doesn't mean that you're not unique. I'll never meet anyone that's any part of the self that is exactly like you. You are totally unique. That's why there's no competition. I don't worry about competition in relationships because I know the person is not going to meet anybody exactly like me. That part of themselves that's exactly like me. Don't forget to share, comment, and react and invite friends so that we can get more mighty companions. Myrna says, you are a blessing to me. You're Earl, you are a blessing. You are a blessing to me, Myrna. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Yvette says, I love your divine flow, Earl. And I love your divine flow. I can feel you. Charles says, when I help someone in need, especially when I don't really feel like it, I die to myself and my ego and feel instantly transformed. Thank you for sharing. Marcia says, you are a blessing to us all, and you are a blessing to us all. Ann says, much love. And Kathy says, we need it deeply rooted, deeper than the willow tree roots. It gets crazy out there. And so we are going deep together right now. And Marcia says, I love you and I've never even met you. I love you and I've never even met you. And maybe that's why we love each other, because we never met each other. You know, sometimes it seems like that. But I totally get what you mean, Marcia, and I appreciate that. And I love, Tassie, that you said when I repeat things, the rhythm that I use lets it sink into our right brains. That's exactly why I do it. I cannot do classes where it's just intellectual and just more words but no feeling. It's just, I don't know, I blow up as a black man. I just can't take it. I can't do it. I can't just stick in my intellect because I'm pretending to be a soul brother. So I got to feel that juice. That's right, Kim. You're supposed to be here with me. That's why you are. And Marion says, damn, dead on. And yes, Kathy, you are a miracle worker. And Nikki, it's okay to be afraid and be ready too. That's true for all of us. Okay, so I'd like to ask you right now to send me some hearts to me and then send some hearts to each other. Let's flood the screen with love right now here on Facebook Live, our Course of Love class. Let's shoot out some love to each other. Let's shoot it out. Let's shoot it out. Let's give it to each other. Let's give it to each other. We are unique. We are loving. We are unique. We are loving. We are unique. We are loving. We are unique. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? I think I would like, I think I would like you even if I did meet you. You are not afraid to express the juice. That's right. I'm not afraid to express the juice. And thank you, CJ. Love you so, brother. I love you so, sister. That is exactly true. Woo! I feel those hearts. That's great. So, y'all ready to dive back in? Let's dive back in. So in chapter 27, paragraph 17, it says, as you learn to live in relationship in the present, this confusion will last. This confusion will pass. So how do we get rid of all of our confusion? The way that we get rid of all of our confusion is to live in relationship. So what does it mean to live in relationship again? It means your relationship will guide you surely to the proper response. I use the word proper, but I'm not using it as a measure of judgment, but as an indication that there is a way in which those who live in relationship become certain. There's a way that we can become totally certain who live in relationship. And that's through our willingness to act unimpeded by uncertainty. What is uncertainty? All uncertainty is fear. Whenever you feel fear, just go, I'm feeling uncertain. I am feeling very uncertain right now. I feel afraid. I feel very uncertain right now. I feel afraid. To feel afraid is to feel uncertain. Uncertainty is fear. All fear is doubt about yourself. So whenever you feel fear, an honest response would be, I'm feeling doubt about myself. I have a lot of fear. I have a lot of doubt about myself. I've been feeling fear all day. I have been feeling doubt about myself all day. I have been feeling fear all week. I have been feeling doubt about myself all week. All uncertainty is fear. All fear is nothing but doubt about myself. So, how can you not know how to respond when doubt is gone and certainty has come? In other words, how can certainty ever come without an understanding of the relationship of all things? How are you going to have certainty if you have no understanding of the relationship of all things? So does an understanding of relationship of all things mean that you will have power that is not of this world? Or you could ask the question, will you see the future? Will you see the past? Will you be cognizant of destiny or of fate? If you understand the relationship of all things, in other words, where you have all these psychic powers and abilities, well, when you really have true relationship and recognize who you really are, you do have power that is not of this world. You do have power that is beyond this world. You do have power that is beyond this world, Earl. You do have power that you don't know about. You do have powers that the world doesn't recognize. You have powers that the world doesn't know anything about, mighty companion. But this doesn't mean power as we see power here, the power of details, the power of information of which you think when desiring or fearing or fate of prophecy. The power we speak of is the power of knowing. You have 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 the power of knowing. For instance, how often have you known the right thing to do without knowing the details of what came before or what's to come? How often have you known the right thing to do without knowing the details? How many times have you known the correct things to do without really knowing the details of what came before or what will come afterwards? Sometimes you have acted on this knowing without knowing why you know, and at other times you didn't. But let me tell you this. Listen carefully. Let me tell you this. Living in relationship actually provides a constant knowing of this sort, which means a simple knowing of a way things are meant to be. You will come to the point that you will just know the way things are meant to be. You don't know why you know it, but you just know exactly why things are the way that they are meant to be. You're going to come to know a simple knowing of a way things are meant to be. You're going to come into the awareness of the way things are meant to be. So what does it mean to come into a knowing of what things are meant to be? It's a knowing that you feel within your heart, for which you don't need any proof. You just know it. You don't need anybody to prove it to you. You don't need anybody to convince you. You just know it. but for which there will be the certainty you have not had before. You're just going to know, and you're going to have a certainty that you've never, like some of you right now, you just know that what we're covering right now is true. Some of you right now just know that I'm as sincere as I can possibly be in trying to be a channel for this material and the love of God to come to you. Some of you just know that right now is exactly where you need to be, with who you need to be with, and that you're hearing exactly what you need to hear. The typical fears you have experienced in the past, they don't come up when you're in true knowing. When you're in true knowing, you don't have all that fear and doubt and suspicion and distrust. When you're in true knowing, you just know that this is true. So, if you do not feel this certainty, though, what can you do? If you don't feel this certainty, what do you do if you don't feel this certainty? Well, you're going to know by the certainty you feel. So, I'll go back. How will you know when you have achieved the state of grace in which you were created? How will you know when you have achieved the state of grace in which you were created? How will you know when you have reached the state of grace in which you were created and that you are living in relationship? How will you know, Earl, when you're living in true relationship? You will know when you're living in true relationship, you will know by the certainty you feel. You will know because you feel certain. You will know because you don't feel any doubt. You will know because you have an indescribable peace and centeredness. If you're not feeling this certainty, if you're not feeling the certainty, what can you do? If you're not feeling the certainty that I'm talking about, what do you do? What do you do? If you're not feeling the certainty, what can you do? You are ready now. You are ready now. You are ready now. You are ready now. And all that will you prevent you. You are ready now, and all that will you prevent you from living a life of love is an unwillingness to do so. The only thing that will prevent you from living a life of love right now is your unwillingness to do it. The only thing that keeps you from living a life of love right now is your unwillingness to live a life of love right now. The only thing that's preventing you from living a life of freedom right now is your unwillingness to live a life of freedom right now. You are ready now. I don't care whether you think you're ready or not. You are ready now, Earl. You are ready now, mighty companion. You are ready now to live a life of freedom, to live a life of abundance, to live a life of love, to live a life of happiness. You are ready. You are ready. The only thing that keeps you from having it is your unwillingness to do it. There's only one remaining source of such unwillingness. There's only one thing that's keeping you unwilling to live the life of truth, the life of love, and the life of joy. There's only one thing that's keeping you from living the kind of life of truth and the life of love and the life of joy that you really want to live. There's only one thing, which is your willingness will now depend on whether or not you trust. Your willingness to live the truth that you're studying right now, your willingness to live what we've been told, depends on whether or not you trust. Everything depends on trust. Everything depends on trust. You're doing anything that you've been instructed to do to be happy in a course of love depends on trust. In other words, do you trust these words? Do you trust these words? Do you trust what you've been told from a course of love tonight? Do you trust it? Because it's out of your trust that your willingness to live a life of love and freedom will come out of your trust. Do you trust these words? Do you trust in God? Do you, Earl Purdy, do you trust in God? Mighty companion, right here with me right now. Do you trust in God? That means, do you trust in love? That means, do you trust in truth? That means, do you trust in the Creator? That means, do you trust in the self? That means, do you trust in love? Do you trust in God? Do you trust in God? And the last question I'm going to ask you is, can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? Be honest now. Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? Wow. I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, and bring it all together. That was a very powerful chapter. Chapter 27, being. I felt you all. We went deep tonight. We really did. And I feel the oneness and I feel the connection. And I want to thank you for attending and joining with me tonight. And if you feel so moved by the Holy Spirit, as I am a full-time teacher of God, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, that would be very much appreciated. To continue and to support this teaching ministry, just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com. And I'm also available, and I'd love to work with you on a one-on-one to get past any blocks that you have in your life so that you can live this and express this. I've been teaching and sharing for over 35 years, and so I doubt if you come up with something extraordinarily original that the course of love and everything that I've learned, we could not come to another way to look at it and handle it. And I love spiritual astrology and numerology, and I've done that for almost 40 years, and I bring it into our session if you're open and receptive to that. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and it explains the services that I offer. And please sign up for my contact list, because I am putting together some special advanced classes that are going to be done online, and I want to be able to let you know about it. I love doing this with you on Facebook Live. You all are total and complete blessings to me. So let's wrap this up and bring it home, mighty companions. And also, this music is by my good friend John Christmas. So go to johnchristmas.com to check out the music. And also, if you want to find out more about A Course of Love, go to acourseoflove.org. www.acourseoflove.org. So, Kathy, let's see what we got. Kathy says, dear heart, thank you for showing up tonight. Marcy says, come to New York. TJ says, be sure to sign up for the mailing list. Let's see what we have coming from the message tonight. So I got a question. I'm going to end this tonight on some questions. And here's the question. Let's see here. Let me see what I'd like to do the questions to. I think I'd like to do the questions so a little bit more funk. Here we go. You ready, mighty companions? Let's do it. You know it. You know it. You know it. You know it. Share. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Your willingness will now depend on whether or not you trust. Your willingness will now depend on whether or not you trust. Your willingness will now depend on whether you trust or not. Your willingness will now depend on whether or not you trust. Do you trust these words? 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 Do you trust God? Do you trust God? Do you trust God? Mighty companions, do you trust God? Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? Can you trust yourself? You are ready now. You are ready now. Hit me. You are ready now. You are ready now. All that will prevent you from living a life of love. All that will prevent you from living a life of love is your unwillingness to do so. So tell me now, tell me now, tell me now, tell me now. I am willing, willing, willing. I am willing, willing. How will you know when you have achieved a state of grace? How will you know when you have achieved a state of grace? How will you know when you have achieved a state of grace? How will you know when you have achieved a state of grace in which you were created? In which you were created. How will you know when you have achieved the state of grace in which you were created, and that you're living in relationship, and that you're living in relationship, and that you're living in relationship? How will you know? You will know by the certainty you feel. 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 If you don't feel this certainty, what can you do? If you don't feel the certainty, what can you do? You are ready now. I'm gonna tell you, you are ready now. The only thing that stops you is your unwillingness to do it. Your willingness depends on whether or not you trust. Your willingness depends on whether or not you trust. I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me. I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me. I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me. I say I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me. I trust my brothers and sisters who are one with me. That means I trust you, and 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 I trust God, and I trust me, and I trust you, and I trust God, and I trust me, and I trust you, and I trust God, and I trust me, and I trust you, and I trust God, and I trust me, and I trust me, and I trust you, and I trust God. Say, I trust God, 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 we 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 trust God. We trust God, we trust God, we trust God means we trust love, 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 we trust love. That means I trust myself, I really, really trust myself. I trust myself, I really, really trust myself. Say it. I trust myself, I really, really trust myself. Say what? I trust myself, I really, really trust myself. Let's say it. I trust myself, I really, really trust myself. I trust myself, I really, really trust myself. I trust God, 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 I trust you, 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 I trust me, I trust me. You got it? You got it, mighty companions? Let's end it on one of my favorite prayers from A Course in Miracles. From the workbook it goes. Ready? Are you ready? Wherever you are you ready? Let's say it. It goes like this. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. Holy companions, I want to thank you for tuning in with A Course of Love with Earl Purdy. It was very, 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 very helpful to me. You are awesome, man, and unique. Be a unique freak of love. I say, be a unique freak of love. Be a unique freak of love. That means that you are really realizing that you come to know yourself in relationship. 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 You come to know yourself. Mighty companions, may the Course be with you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And listen to this over and over again and share it with as many people as you can. Thank you for watching me on Facebook Live. A Course of Love every Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. The Way of Mastery every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And A Course of Love every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time.